Virtuoso, how many leads have we received for Unit 100A?
Virtuoso, how much availability do we have in the Seattle market?
Virtuoso, what is the net effective rent of the Fading X deal?
Virtuoso, who are the top 10 expiring tenants in the next 90 days?
Virtuoso, create an emergency work order for the broken elevator.
Virtuoso, give me a list of all approved capital projects in 2025.
Virtuoso, send me a list of all the tenants with past due accounts receivable.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Realcomm Live. Actually, a pretty appropriate commercial based on our topic today. So if you've been following along, you know for the last 6 months or so, we've been having quite a few conversations about artificial intelligence. We tried to take a little break from the topic over the last month or so just to make sure it wasn't just AI, but there's no denying that this topic, this technology is having an impact on the built environment and our industry. And it's amazing to see how fast it's occurring, and all the different aspects and nuances, from governance to data to integration to cybersecurity. Almost every topic that we've had in the built environment is being influenced by artificial intelligence. So about 6 months ago, well, maybe 5, I got introduced to a company that, for lack of better terms, I would have called a systems integrator, okay, or in this case, an AI integrator. And they're gonna argue with that name a little bit when we start chatting. But let me give you some context. Back when I used to sell mini computers, I'll give you a little idea of how old I am. And we moved to distributed PCs. We went from buying a system from one organization, and they sold me everything from the cable to the workstation to the printer. And when somebody came to install it, they had the company's name on their shirt. Once we moved to distributed PC architecture, I could buy a printer from HP. I could buy a laptop from Dell. I could buy a server at the time from Gateway. And then Novell came in and offered this new operating system. And then Microsoft came in with NT. But the point is that the systems, because they were so open and integrated, created a lot of complexities that you needed somebody to kind of be the coach of how all this worked together. And hence we created a new category of companies called systems integrators. But that was for the enterprise hardware standpoint and to some extent the software. So now that we've got AI coming with an equal amount of complexities, the folks that I'm going to bring on are going to talk about their approach to this whole AI phenomenon and how it might change the landscape as how real estate companies and IT teams deal with this topic. So with that, let's bring on two very important guests. Brad Taylor, co-founder of Last Rev, and Julie Basque, director of revenue from Last Rev. So good to have you here. You guys have been blowing my mind for the last 4 or 5 months with everything you've been talking about, showing. You're the last Realcomm Live before we go next week to the conference. So this is your time to put a bow on it, okay, on this topic of AI. And kind of lead us into what is proving to be probably the biggest AI conversation in the world for the built environment in 2024. And I'm so glad you're going to be there and going to be participating. So before we get started, why don't you both start with giving us a little bit of your backgrounds, and then we'll talk about the company, and then we're going to dive right into the topic.
Sure. So thank you for having us. I really appreciate it, Jim. It's been great to get to know you and the whole, Realcomm network over the past few months. But yeah, my history has been in the integration world as well. My main history has been integrating different disparate systems. I was working and having SaaS companies when people didn't know what SaaS was. And that explosion of SaaS integrations created, just like, when we went from, personal, in different computers to, distributed systems, very much the same thing happened, where now you have a bunch of SaaS programs that all need to be integrated. So I spent the last 20 years helping from content management to customer experience teams and engineering teams really try to make the most out of not just the software they buy, but then how, more importantly, all of it's integrated together to be able to take action on it.
And if
So.
there's any topic that needs integration and thought and governance, it is artificial intelligence. Julie, how about a little bit of your background?
Sure. Thanks, Jim. Thanks for having me. Excited for next week. My name's Julie Basque, and I have a background in sales and marketing, and I've worked in this space for many, many years. I think Brad and I started working together in 2008, and yeah, in the beginning of the SaaS world, and then I've got a background with companies like Cisco and Meta, and a couple years ago, Brad and his team really started diving into AI and just have done some amazing work and really, immersed themselves in this space. And I just had to join forces, and it's been great this past year. We've really worked closely with our clients in implementing AI and really helping them think about it, not just scratching the surface like most companies are right now, but really diving in deep and doing some really cool, relevant things to increase their users' experience and their clients' experience. So I'm happy to be here and really looking forward to next week.
Well, and I think we need to really consider some of this behavioral science part of this conversation, because we've all had experience of seeing new paradigms be entered into IT. The human side of it is very, very real. For example, like you, Brad, I cut my teeth on enterprise platforms, web-based enterprise platforms. Started a software company in 1999 that used the browser as its basic interface, right? So we were doing cloud in 1999, and it not talking, doing, right? And it took our industry another 10, 15 years to fully understand and embrace cloud. Okay. So here we are with AI, and it's moving, seems to me it's moving faster. The implications could be a lot more serious if you find yourself behind. So tell me at a high level, what does Last Rev do?
Yeah, it's a great question. We really make AI implementation and integration easy. We've really focused, through my history of data integration, and you talked about, data integration versus like AI orchestrator. And I think the reason we call it an orchestration layer is because you're really orchestrating how your data can now take action on your behalf, how you can now use it to do research on your behalf. And it's more than just integrating it with your data. It's about, like an orchestra of a symphony, right? They don't just write the music, they, tell when the crescendos happen, when, to make it quieter. They give a lot more direction. And that's where we kind of step in, is we kind of help, because a lot of companies right now, they're like, I don't even know where to start.
Well, and I mean,
How do I even get this going?
think about it. You're in a real estate company, you got a couple dozen enterprise applications. Maybe you got a main platform, you got a lot of API integration taking place, you got different data, you still got spreadsheets and Word docs and PDFs. I mean, we are not an industry that's known for good data governance. From our large solution providers, we are, but the other stuff is a little less structured. And then of course you've got all these new things like LLMs and different providers of LLMs, and then you got governance. I mean, this is a complicated topic. So just to give a little context on how long you've been thinking about this, when was Last Rev formed? When did you open?
Yeah, I founded Last Rev in 2018 with the sole goal of, making uh, software integration between the different systems easy, because I led the solutions architect team at Optimizely, which was an A/B testing and experimentation platform. And I worked with companies like McDonald's, New York Times, Microsoft, Apple, really understanding their technology stacks. And you'd be surprised that you think that, companies, you go into companies, you feel like everything's kind of integrated and working together, and that's far from the truth in a lot of these companies.
So
Even
what
the
year was
best
that?
ones.
What year was that?
This was like 2014 to 2018 that I was at Optimizely.
And then
learning
you
the solutions
started Last Rev
architecture.
right after that?
Yeah, because I saw a huge need in the market that, even at the top tier companies, let alone like the small companies, they weren't doing it for sure. But we were at Optimizely data warehousing, which was, a challenge for a lot of companies, but we had that full customer profile because we were taking all that unstructured data, using it for our knowledge center, using it for our help center, using it in our marketing efforts, so that it wasn't just, what data do we have on our customers from a lead gen standpoint, but what challenges are they having in our products? What are
Right.
they looking for? These types of things helped us for expansion. And I really just saw an opportunity there to help, integrate a lot of these systems so that other people could get the same kind of actions and ability to do it. Now with AI, it's just, the biggest, hardest thing was, okay, we got to take your unstructured data to make it structured. That is
Well, but
easy
you
now.
the other day when we were on the phone working on the app for Realcomm and IBCon, I mean, you like changed LLMs with the click of a mouse, right? And so to have a system in place, I guess if the vision started in 2018, that's 6 years that behind the scenes you've been anticipating this day. So you put together a system, I call it a workflow generator. I mean, it is what it feels like. But I mean, when you gave us that demo the first time, it took me a couple more demos to really try to understand what you were doing. Julie, Brad, can you explain high levels what this orchestrator does and what it looks like?
Yeah, so our orchestration layer, which we call Answer AI, was built for the sole purpose of two things. One, speed. This is a very new industry, and at the end of the day, you need to be experimenting and figuring out as many different ways of bringing AI. And one of the biggest challenges is they'll get a POC, like a proof of concept. It'll be like, great, this looks great. And then they'll come back and it's very hard to make it in production.
Right.
And so when you're having these ideas and you're getting pushback from your engineering team, oh, this is going to take 2-3 months, maybe longer, or we're not even ready for it yet. This becomes a very this becomes a challenge for companies to even just start with AI. So with Answer AI, we made it in a very, what we call, composable way. I love Legos. So think of every single part of an AI response has a lot of different building parts from the context you give it, right? So about you, about your company. There's also the chat, LLM. Different LLMs have much different responses because they're all
Boy,
trained
did I
on
learn that
different
last
data
week.
sets.
We were, and I'll preface the fact that the AI model that we're going to be showing at the conference on the mobile app, it's still a work in progress. I mean, we're tweaking it, but we're not going to sit on the sidelines and wait for it to get perfect. We're going to be out there. We're going to be testing it and fine tuning it because nothing starts off perfect from the beginning, right? But we were on the phone the other day, and you said, "Oh, the Grok isn't giving me the responses we want." And I think you click the button and you change the LLM. I'm going, how does one do that? I mean, can you give like a little explanation?
Yeah, I mean, we literally built the product like Lego blocks. So for instance, you just, delete one or just swap it in a drop down which model you want to use. Because at the end of the day, when we're running this in production, we're not just launching a bot with one model with one prompt. A lot of these tools do not allow you to change the model. They don't allow you to change the prompts and how it's guiding the AI. So you literally have another business who's deciding your responses on your behalf. So you need to have full control over every aspect of this, including the data. So we allow you to host everything on your own infrastructure, do it in a very composable way because, LLM models, the vector databases, we could go into a long list of all the different pieces that make up a AI stack. They're changing daily.
Right.
Like, and you need to be able to say,
Is it
swap it
fair?
out.
Is it fair to oversimplify this? That I've got all my data on the left side and all my LLMs on the right side, and I can interchange based upon what I'm seeing or what I'm discovering.
Exactly right. Like, here's a data set, here's an LLM, and then you're missing a third part, which is kind of the prompting around it, right?
Right.
So your instructions, and then your data is the context. A lot of companies get too hung up in like, oh, the instructions. They'll go to ChatGPT and they'll try to create these very long prompts, trying to get these, it didn't really do it. Honestly, smaller instructions, very, very clear instructions lots of context
Right. Right.
about you. And that's the hard part. You can
Well,
even do this yourself. Go and copy and paste just like your brand story, maybe some details about yourself, put it into a prompt and then see that response.
right.
You'll get much better. We just facilitate making that seamless
Right.
of getting that
And
context window.
it seems like it's a graphical user interface for an architecture that deals with a lot of different complex systems, right? Which again, it took me a few times. I still don't fully understand it, but I think I'm getting a little better. Julie, when you first talk to an organization that might be only in, not even in the game yet, they're in the bus in the parking lot, and you try to explain this, how long does it take before the aha moment goes, oh, I get what you're talking about? I mean, how long does it take for somebody, even very successful IT person, people, to
Yeah, it's a great
grasp?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a great question. And even for me, when I started this process, there was a lot of times where we'd be strategizing or we'll ask it a question and, I wouldn't know what to ask, or even how to set up a source, right? And so I think from me working with the clients, a lot of times, they'll start thinking like, how do I want to leverage AI with my data? And then of course the other questions come up with like, well, where do I want to house this? Can I house it in my own environment? Do I rely on somebody to build these prompts for me? And so all of those questions are coming up. And I think what we do a great job is we help them start thinking about some of the questions that they want to ask. We help them kind of put together with like, well, this is the data that you have access to, how can you leverage, how can you increase your customers' experience leveraging this data? And so, our team really brings some of those strategies in front of our customers, and then the light bulb comes on. Then it's like,
And
oh,
you bring 6 years of experience anticipating this day. They're all kind of like reacting, and you're saying, no, don't react. We've been thinking about it, and here's our process, and here's our approach. All right, let's take a brief commercial break. When we come back, we're going to continue digging into this very, very important topic.
At Willow, we understand that smart isn't just using digital twins and AI. It's understanding when and where to unleash their potential. Acknowledging the widespread enthusiasm around GenAI, Willow's Activate technology goes beyond the hype. Our technology builds intelligence into structures and infrastructures, while upskilling and accelerating human value. Willow is activating the future now. Smart isn't just owning technology. It's about knowing how to wield it. Willow's expertise lies in pinpointing exactly where and how AI-enabled technology can revolutionize a process. It's not just AI integration. It's about deploying intelligence wisely. Activate your world.
All right. I like numbers to help quantify complex questions. So let me ask you this question in this way. Our IT community, I'm sure every IT community, is challenged and struggling with keeping up with how fast this is coming into the market. So imagine you have 100 IT executives in a room, and you go up and you just do a quick 2-minute pitch on what it is to be an AI orchestrator. What percent of those 100 people would have had experience with and fully understand what an AI orchestrator is?
I think at the end of the day, this is new to a lot of people, unlike a lot of technologies where we kind of have, like even with the cloud when it was rolled out, like that took a long time. While, people in labs, people like us were, experimenting with like GPT-2, GPT-3, most of this industry started in November of 2022. So everyone's kind of just trying to see what can these things do, what can they not do. And I think that's the biggest thing that we do with your AI orchestrator. For as little as a few $100s, you can get up, start using this and see with a bunch of different workflows. You mentioned earlier, like what's that aha moment? It's when you actually get personalized responses back.
Right.
So for instance, for you, it was when we put it up to the sessions, you're like, oh, let's what about my sessions? What
Or
about
where can I get
this?
something to eat, right? I mean, and we got to make sure that data sets in there. We don't normally put that in our program, right? Or do we want live weather feeds? What's the weather going to be like? And we got to be actually a little worried next week. It's going to rain a little bit, but that's the main point I want to make is this idea of an AI orchestrator, integrator, whatever the industry ends up calling it, is a relatively new idea. Correct?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
So next week, when we immerse ourselves in the chaos and there's AI conversations everywhere, I believe you are going to be the only AI integrator orchestrator at the event. You'll be in a couple sessions, a few people will be fortunate enough to see you, but how do we get the message out that they need, and hopefully this Realcomm Live, if people are watching, a little pre-conference homework. How did they find you? How did they, get into a deeper conversation with you?
Yeah, very simple. Just go to lastrev.com. You can kind of see, what Answer AI is capable of. We have lots of information on our website. Um, we also have my YouTube channel, Digital at Scale, where I also talk, especially for integrators and people wanting to learn what's in the AI space, where we talk about practical ways that you can use this for supporting marketing teams, customer experience teams, and IT teams. But I think the number one thing is that, at the end of the day, everyone got caught flat footed. And I see this every day. Everyone's like, I don't know what to do. But unlike cloud and other SaaS, they knew very quickly that this is a decision that needs to come from the top. And when new things come that require cross-departmental, especially large organizations, just means slowness. So if you can figure out a way to get over the political piece of it, the scare part of it, and just start using it in very low risk areas, you'll start to find those ideas. People will come to you and be like, can we use it for this?
Well, it's funny
Use it for
because one of
this.
the guys who went with me to the AI Expo in DC a month or so ago, I'm asking all of them to put together their final thoughts and what are we going to say when we're in the building's AI symposium, and he kept changing his answer. And at the end of the day, he goes, what is the barrier to entry? And he goes, I started in May, and by June 1st, this is where I'm at. And he did some very complex things. He goes, there are no barriers to entry, right? Which a lot of people have to understand and get into the game. If you guys could do me a favor, create one 16:9 slide that says what an AI orchestrator is, okay, what the benefits of it are, and either a QR code or an email address or a website. I'm going to figure out a way to get that up on the screen in a couple different sessions just to make sure we connect the right people with you while you're at the conference.
Absolutely. I
Absolutely.
appreciate that. Yeah, I'll be
So,
putting together a white paper as well too of like some of the challenges that we've seen over the past few years of bringing it in there. Because yeah, there are a lot of challenges of bringing this, especially around data governance. Companies weren't very good at data governance before. Now that you have a machine that's going to be producing even more data, how do you trust that data? When I have something that's generated by a grad student, they then comes all the way up to the CEO. How does me as the CEO know
where it came
what was
from.
human generated, what was AI generated? Can I trust
And
this?
does the insight come from somebody who interacted with AI that has knowledge and experience and context? Or is it just a quick little query that is just a quick little query? You have to be very careful. Yeah. Okay,
Absolutely.
so this is the last conversation we're having before we get to the conference on AI. Julie, 30 seconds, final thoughts. What do you tell our audience? What do you tell people in the built environment?
Well, come see us. We're looking forward to having many conversations. And I'd say take the first step. Definitely go to lastrev.com, reach out to sales@lastrev.com. We can get you set up. I think a lot of our clients are looking for direction. And, you said it great. You can do a simple workflow or you can get really deep. So,
But the deep only usually comes after you start with the simple. You have to swing the bat. You have to be satisfied with a single before you try going for the fence.
yeah,
And we
absolutely.
always recommend that, like, what's the one use case, or we have a whole book of use cases. What is that one thing that show value? Because once you've shown value very quickly, everyone starts asking, can we use it for this?
Right.
and you'll have no shortage of ideas.
And I want to make sure that I introduce you to the other folks. We're going to have two different AI interfaces and chatbots going. They're playing around with a visual GUI, an avatar interface, which is interesting. I want to make sure I get the two of you connected because they've got a lot of industry domain expertise, and you guys are at the top of the stack as it relates to Silicon Valley-esque, information. I just want to make sure we get everybody to as far up the head of the class as we possibly can. Brad, last final words.
I mean, I'll just say again that you have to embrace failure. You have to embrace experimentation. The most valuable companies in the world, you think about Apple, Google, Amazon, they've all had massive failures, but they've tried. I think that's the biggest thing, is that you just need to embrace this, especially with AI, and have a platform that allows you to experiment quickly and find out what works and what doesn't, because what's good for your company may not be good for our company, and vice versa. And you have
I'm
to
going
just
to
get in
embellish.
there.
I'm going to embellish on that a little bit. I think I'm going to make that the last slide of the Buildings AI Symposium. Embrace failure. It will accelerate your race or your speed as it relates to artificial intelligence. I'll tweak it. I'll give you some credit for that, but embrace failure. I think is a critical message, especially as it relates to artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It's going to be a wild couple days getting ready for the event. We're heading out tomorrow, and I'll see all of you or both of you in Tampa next week. It's going to be a great 4 days for us and for some attendees, but make sure you bring comfortable shoes.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Looking forward to seeing both of you.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks for all you do. All right. Well, that conversation could have gone for an hour. It's a very complex topic, but it actually simplifies this conversation of AI. And everybody and anybody who's listening to this are going to want to talk to those folks and at least understand what they're doing, because they've been at it a lot longer than we have, and they've got some real experience that is valuable. So with that, let's bring on Mr. Berger to give us, I'm sure some of the news is about AI. And
you guessed it.
And again, our goal was to distinguish between hype and reality. We're not going to have a lot of hype at the conference. We're gonna be digging into real case studies and try to allow the industry to move as quickly as it can into this very hype-filled new type of technology. So let me get out of your way, do the news, and I'll be back when you're done.
Thanks, Jim. And thanks, Brad and Julie. Yeah, it was a great conversation. And I just want to, and I don't typically personally attest to experience with products and services, but I've worked with Answer AI, Last Rev and Answer AI with the pilots that we've been running, and it really is a fantastic product. So, if you're with us in Tampa next week, definitely look them up. So moving to the news, here's a few snippets from Thursday morning's weekly briefing. So first of all, JLL has announced their digital end-to-end facilities management application they call Serve. It's now even further differentiated with AI-powered technology from Sclera, which is a building management solution that monitors assets, workforce, and operations. It integrates data from various assets and aggregates a few of the previously siloed apps in JLL's tech ecosystem. So, apps like Corrigo, JLL Smart Building, Enterprise Data Platforms, Azara, and more. And they're shooting for a wider, more holistic view of data. And this integration of Sclera's technology into JLL's platform does support the creation of a more unified and comprehensive data set of the entire portfolio of facilities being served. So more to watch here. Next, again, on the AI front, shout out to this week's tech partner, David Franklin, industry principal at Yardi, for his article, putting the power of AI to work for commercial real estate. And here's just a quick synopsis. So AI, we all know, making significant strides in multifamily. It's enhancing property management, providing more accurate valuations, delivering market investment and development insights by transforming data-intensive tasks. One key application is the use of chatbots like ChatGPT for customer service, where it can answer resident queries and process maintenance requests and save time and resources. AI-driven web content solutions are ensuring compliance with things like the Americans with Disabilities Act, And machine learning is automating things like invoice processing with a lot more increased accuracy and cost savings. So the AI stories keep coming, and now shifting a little bit, shining the spotlight on a crucial issue in the construction industry, site safety. So with the rise of IoT technology, Samsung is leading the charge in keeping construction sites safe and secure. And they're now including things like heart rate monitors, air quality, noise, gas, temperature, and humidity sensors, all designed to monitor workers' health and site conditions in real time. So by tracking vital signs and environmental factors, these IoT devices help manage risk, reduce incident response time, minimize work-related health issues, and is changing for the better the way we approach site safety. So it's a real practical application that could save lives. Now, finally, back to AI. Can AI-assisted video surveillance help building owners and facility managers in retaining tenants, safeguarding properties, and boosting profits? And in short, the answer is yes, but with caution. You can monitor banned individuals from entering a property, or you can flag unusual activity levels by day and time, or identify suspicious activity like unattended packages or potential illegal activity. So yes, using AI-powered video surveillance can indeed offer advantages in these areas, but also comes with inherent risks that really need to be understood to get the most out of the technology while maintaining security and privacy standards. One of the many risks noted in the article is one that we don't think about often. It's that set it and forget it attitude, where potential problems can arise, but then they can spread until someone actually catches the error. And that's a good argument for having a human in the loop. So there's a lot more in this article, a lot of good guidance in there. So I would encourage you to read it. Well, with that, I'm out of time. That's it for me. Thanks for listening. Have a great weekend, and I hope to see you all next week in Tampa. And back to you, Jim.
Yeah, so obviously more AI articles, trying to digest them and filter, the hypey ones with the real ones. But on that last one, that video surveillance, facial recognition, that's a big issue. We've seen the most draconian examples of that in China, specifically the Uyghur region. There's even a couple examples in New York City where people are using facial recognition to keep certain people out of their facilities, right? Whether it's just because they don't like them or for a disagreement with them. And in the wrong hands, that can be a ridiculously abusive piece of technology.
But it's amazing that people, for the sake of safety, people will readily give up little bits of their privacy here and there.
Right. And then eventually you'll get to the point where it's too late and you live in a draconian state. And especially if the people pulling the levers maybe not have the highest ethical standards. So we have always been advocates for privacy on this topic. We've been talking about this for over 10, closer to 15 years. We knew this day was coming. And be careful what you're willing to give up, because someday you might be on the other side of the equation. And at that point, it'll probably be nothing you can do. So we're going to continue to advocate for responsible use of facial recognition and artificial intelligence. And if we see it getting out of hand and getting abused, we're going to call it out. So.
Yeah, I hope everyone, takes a sober approach to really understanding what the downside can be, to their privacy and ultimately their safety and security.
Yeah. Just imagine 600 million cameras in China with high resolution 4K, advanced AI analytics at the edge. And guess what? There are people there who feel like they're being watched and monitored every second of every day. And it's not a good feeling.
No, it's good to it's good to monitor the bad guys, but when you start monitoring the good guys,
every minute of every day, it's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. Yeah. All right. Well, a great job as always. I'm sure you're up to your eyeballs in details. And I think I'll see you Sunday. We're out tomorrow, and looking forward to seeing everybody next week in Tampa. And it's going to be a phenomenal event. Big conversations on cyber, big conversations on AI, enterprise, all the normal, the 5G, IoT conversations, smart buildings. But I would say cyber and AI seem to be rising to the top.
Cyber and AI are right up there. Yeah. But we're mixing it with a good dollop of fun.
Absolutely.
So
Yes.
I think it'll be high energy, get plenty of rest and wear comfortable shoes.
Wear comfortable shoes.
We
Yes.
mentioned earlier.
That's the best advice I could give. Wear
It
comfortable
is.
shoes.
It's a metaphor. That's a metaphor for the conference. Yeah.
Amen. All right. Well, you have a great day, great weekend, and I'll see you shortly.
Do the same. Bye, everyone.
All right. So before I talk about next week, let's hear from our final sponsor, and I'll be right back.
To invest millions in today's market, your deal team can't rely on emails, spreadsheets, and physical documents. Let's go from offline to online and make data your competitive advantage with DealPath. As your command center, DealPath streamlines deal flow from pipeline to portfolio management, empowering you to realize operational efficiencies, grow top line, and uncover the most profitable opportunities. Built by real estate experts, chosen by market leaders. The industry's most trusted real estate deal management platform, DealPath.
All right. So what's our topic for next week's Realcomm Live? We don't have one. We're not doing an episode like this. We're going live. We're building a stage at the conference. As those of you who've been following us for a while, Realcomm Live is an integral part of the exhibit floor. 35 speakers will be streaming live, I believe, beginning on Thursday, right after the general session. Sitting at your desk, can't make it to the conference, tune in. Some of the best topics are making their way to that stage. And I think you'll find some very, very, very interesting conversations available to you on your laptop, on your workstation, while you're working, to keep you in line with all the great conversations we're going to be having at Realcomm. So I will be doing some of those interviews, so you'll be seeing me a little bit, but we have a lot of other hosts who will be taking over as well. And we're looking for a great week and just hundreds, thousands of conversations as it relates to real estate and technology in the built environment. And it's going to be a wild week. So with that, I say thank you for listening. For those of you going to be there, looking forward to seeing you. And the rest, have a great day, great weekend, and be well.